Every Christmas, my parents gave my brother an expensive gift and me a lecture. This year, I didn't show up, and they weren't ready for what happened next. Last Christmas, I watched my brother Wayne unwrap a $1,200 gaming setup with all the bells and whistles. My gift? A 3-pack of dress socks and a 20-minute lecture about how I should be more financially responsible like Wayne. Yeah, the same Wayne who's been between jobs for 3 years and still lives in my parents' basement at 31. The same Wayne who has totaled 3 cars that my parents replaced without blinking. That Wayne. Honestly, this isn't a new story. It's just the one that finally made my system crash and need a hard reset. Look, I'm not usually the type to air family drama online, but I'm sitting here on Christmas Eve scrolling through my phone instead of being at my parents' house, and the messages blowing up my notifications are too wild not to share. I need some perspective from internet strangers because my reality meter is seriously miscalibrated right now. Some background. I'm Caleb, 28, and my entire life has been watching my parents treat my older brother like he's made of gold, while I get treated like the free plastic toy in a kid's meal. We're not rich, solidly middle class, with my dad working construction and my mom teaching elementary school. Money was always tight when it came to my needs, but somehow elastic as hell for Wayne. When I was 10, Wayne got the newest game console for Christmas. I got second-hand educational books. When I was 14, Wayne got a mountain bike. I got a lecture about how I needed to apply myself more, even though I had a 3.8 GPA while Wayne was barely passing. When Wayne turned 16, he got a used car. When I turned 16, I got a bus pass and another lecture about learning the value of public transportation. College? Wayne got tuition paid while he bounced between 4 majors in 6 years. I got student loans and worked night shifts at a gas station. I still have $26,000 in debt, while Wayne never finished a degree. But whatever, right? You can't choose your family, and for years I just accepted that this was how things were. I figured once we were adults, things would even out. Spoiler alert, they didn't. I moved out at 22, got an apartment with roommates, built my life from scratch. Meanwhile, Wayne has lived at home his entire life except for a 6-month stretch when he moved in with a girlfriend before crawling back to mom and dad when that imploded. Every Christmas is the same algorithm running on repeat. Wayne gets something expensive, I get something practical and cheap, plus a side of criticism. Last year was just the most extreme example. So what was different this time? After last Christmas, my friend Ember convinced me to try therapy. Best decision ever. TBH. 6 sessions in, my therapist asked me a question that hit like a system reset. What would happen if you just didn't show up this year? What would happen? I'd never even considered that as an option in my programming. I spent months thinking about it. Every family gathering was the same. Wayne getting praised for the smallest accomplishment, while I got interrogated about why I wasn't doing better despite actually having my shit together. My brain kept running the same simulation and getting the same results. Any programmer knows that's the definition of insanity. So 2 weeks ago, I called my mom and told her I wouldn't be coming for Christmas this year. The conversation went about as well as trying to run Windows 95 on a quantum computer. Mom immediately asked if I was sick. When I said no, she asked if I had to work. When I said no again, there was this silence, like her brain was buffering. Then she went straight to guilt.exe. What about family tradition? What about your father's feelings? What about Wayne being disappointed? I almost laughed at that last one. Wayne probably wouldn't notice if I was replaced by a cardboard cutout. When I held firm, she switched tactic. Was I having money problems? Did I need them to buy my plane ticket? I live 3 hours away by car. But okay. I explained that I just wanted to spend Christmas differently this year. Dad got on the phone next. He didn't bother with the concerned routine. He went straight to telling me I was being selfish and ungrateful, that I was ruining Christmas for everyone, that I should think about how this would affect my mother. Classic deflection protocol. The thing is, their reactions just confirmed I was making the right choice. Not once did either of them ask ** why * I might not want to come. Not once did they consider that maybe, just maybe, there was a reason I'd rather spend the holiday alone than with them. My brother texted me later that night. Asterisk WTF dude, mom's crying asterisk. That was it. No question about my reason. No offer to talk. Just blame for upsetting the family system. I didn't respond. For the next week, my phone was bombarded with family spam. Aunts and uncles I barely talked to suddenly had opinions about my Christmas plans. My mom's daily guilt trip texts escalated from sad face emojis to full paragraphs about how she'd failed as a mother if I couldn't even spend one day with family. My dad's approach was more direct. You're acting like a child. Grow up and get over yourself. What exactly I needed to get over remained unspecified. Meanwhile, I made alternative plans. My friend Ember invited me to join her friend group's Christmas gathering. I bought gifts for everyone, even though I barely knew some of them. I signed up to bring dessert. I felt genuinely excited about Christmas for the first time in years. 3 days before Christmas, the messages from my family suddenly stopped. Radio silent. My first thought was relief. My second thought was suspicion. Yesterday, Christmas Eve morning, I woke up to a novel-length email from my mother. The TLDR version is that they've decided to respect my choice, but they're deeply hurt and hope I'll come to my senses soon. The email included a detailed account of all the sacrifices they've made for me over the years, with convenient omission of everything they did for Wayne, and ended with, "We'll save your presents for when you're ready to apologize." Apologize for not showing up to be their emotional punching bag, for not smiling through another round of watching Wayne get treated like royalty while I get treated like a disappointment. The most mind-blowing part? She mentioned that they'd gotten me something special this year that they were sure would make up for past misunderstanding. Honestly, the audacity crashed my mental servers. 28 years of systematic favoritism reduced to past misunderstanding that could be fixed with one decent gift. I wrote back a single line. Asterisk. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. This morning, Christmas Eve, I woke up to a text from my cousin who's at my parents' house. Apparently, Wayne had a complete meltdown when he found out I really wasn't coming. Not because he'd miss me, but because, and I quote from my cousin's text, "Without you there as the responsible one, they're actually expecting him to help with dinner preparations and act like an adult." Followed by a video of Wayne shouting at my mom in the kitchen while she cried. My dad called an hour later. I let it go to voicemail. His message was short. "Your brother is having a hard time right now, and your absence is making it worse. Your mother is very upset. I hope you're happy with yourself." The system error finally revealed itself. They don't miss me. They miss the role I play in their dysfunction. Without me there to be the responsible one, the scapegoat, the emotional support, the whole family operating system is crashing. For the first time in my life, I feel like I have power in this relationship. They can't force me to play my assigned role anymore. And if their perfect golden child can't handle the pressure of being an actual adult for one day, that's not my problem to debug. Tonight I'm heading to Ember's with homemade cookies and zero family drama. Tomorrow will be my first Christmas, where I don't feel like a background character in the Wayne show. But just as I was about to leave, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom that made my heart stop. Asterisk, we need to talk. Your father and I just found out what Wayne's been hiding from us for years. Please call when you can. I'm not calling. Whatever family emergency they're manufacturing now isn't going to work. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. I'll update after Christmas if anything interesting happens. For now, I'm turning off my phone and enjoying my first drama-free holiday. Anyone else ever completely bail on toxic family Christmas? How did it go? Update. First off, thank you all for the insane amount of support on my last post. Waking up to see it had blown up like that was unexpected. Reading through your comments felt like finally having someone debug my family code and confirm that, no, I'm not crazy. The program is actually full of malware. So, Christmas Day. Where do I even start? I woke up on Ember's couch around 7, before anyone else was up. Her apartment was warm, quiet, and smelled like cinnamon from the potpourri stuff she keeps everywhere. No tension in the air, no walking on eggshells, just peace. I literally sat there for 10 minutes just enjoying the silence before checking my phone. Big mistake. 17 missed calls, 34 text messages, 6 voicemails, 2 emails. It was like someone had thrown my phone into a digital blender of family drama. The timestamps started at midnight and continued every 20 to 30 minutes until about 5 a.m. The first few texts from Mom were passive-aggressive classics. Asterisk Merry Christmas. Hope whatever you're doing is worth breaking family tradition, asterisk. Then they evolved into concern trolling. Asterisk, are you safe? Please just let us know you're okay. Asterisk. By 4 a.m., they'd moved to straight-up emotional terrorism. I'm crying so hard I can barely breathe, please, Caleb. Just call us, asterisk. Dad's messages were shorter, but equally manipulative. Asterisk, your mother hasn't slept. Hope you're proud of yourself. Asterisk. Wayne's contribution? A single text. Asterisk, WTF, man. You've ruined everything, asterisk. Here's the thing that made me finally snap. I scrolled back through our message history, and you know what I couldn't find? A single time when they'd shown this much concern, when I was actually going through tough time, when I was working doubles and surviving on ramen during college, when I had that health scare last year, when my car broke down in a snowstorm. Nothing. Radio silence, but I skip one Christmas, and suddenly I'm getting more attention than a viral TikTok. I decided not to respond yet. Instead, I helped Ember set up for the day. Her friends started arriving around 11, bringing food, drinks, and zero emotional baggage. These people barely knew me, but they welcomed me like I'd always been part of their circle. We played board games, watched cheesy holiday movies, and ate until we couldn't move. Nobody lectured me about my life choices. Nobody compared me to anyone else. It was just normal. Around 3 p.m., I finally decided to check my phone again. That's when things got weird. My cousin had sent a series of texts with the tea I never expected. Apparently, after Wayne's meltdown yesterday, things escalated hard. When my parents gave Wayne his Christmas gifts this morning, a new laptop and some expensive headphones, he completely lost it. Started yelling about how he deserved better, how they always cheap out on him, how they never appreciate everything he does for them. My cousin sneakily recorded part of it and sent it to me, watching Wayne throw a tantrum over gifts that probably cost well over $1,000 total. It was like watching myself step into a parallel universe where everything was reversed. But here's where it gets juicy. In the middle of his rant, Wayne accidentally exposed himself. He started listing all the things he'd protected my parents from knowing about me over the years. Made up stuff. Complete fabrications. He'd been telling them I was constantly in financial trouble. I'm not. That I badmouthed them to everyone. I don't. That I was living some wild lifestyle they wouldn't approve of. I literally have a succulent collection and go to bed at 10. For years, he'd been poisoning them against me, all while pretending to be the supportive big brother to my face. According to my cousin, my dad finally snapped and asked Wayne why he should believe anything he says. That's when the house of cards came tumbling down. My mom apparently started questioning every secret Wayne had ever told them about me. One by one, his lies unraveled. The biggest bombshell? Remember those expensive emergency loans my parents gave Wayne over the years? Turns out he'd been claiming the money was mostly for me, that he was helping support me through various crises. My parents had been under the impression that a significant chunk of the money they gave Wayne was being passed on to help me out. I never saw a single dollar of it. By the time my cousin's play-by-play reached the midday mark, my parents had apparently gone from angry to devastated as they realized just how thoroughly Wayne had manipulated them for years. I sat on Ember's balcony processing all this while everyone inside laughed over some card game. My emotions were all over the place. Vindication, rage, a weird sense of grief for what could have been if Wayne hadn't systematically sabotaged my relationship with our parents. Then my phone rang. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but something in me needed to hear what she had to say. The conversation lasted 47 minutes. She cried a lot, I stayed silent a lot. It was awkward and painful and necessary. The TLDR version, Wayne had been playing both sides for years, telling me that our parents thought I was a disappointment, telling them that I was ungrateful and constantly in trouble, creating problems so he could swoop in as the hero wound victim who needed their support. Why? Money, primarily. Attention, secondarily. As long as I was the bad son in their eyes, he could do no wrong. And as long as he did no wrong, the financial support kept flowing. My dad got on the phone eventually. He's not a man who apologizes easily, but he came as close as he probably ever will. Asked if we could meet up to talk things through. Said they'd been doing some thinking. After 28 years. Better late than never. I told them I needed time, that I couldn't just flip a switch and be okay with decades of unfair treatment. Regardless of how much Wayne had influenced, they should have seen through his act. They should have questioned why their perception of me was so different from my actual life and accomplishment. After I hung up, I went back inside and tried to enjoy the rest of Christmas with Ember and her friends. But my mind kept running background processes, trying to reconcile my new reality. Around 9 p.m., the bomb dropped. Wayne called. I let it go to voicemail. His message was unhinged. He bounced between threats, pleas, and wild accusations. Said I'd ruined everything by not showing up. Said our parents were threatening to make him move out. Said they were cutting him off financially. Blamed me for turning everyone against him. The desperation in his voice was something I'd never heard before. This wasn't the confident golden child I'd grown up with. This was someone seeing their carefully constructed reality collapsing and frantically trying to patch the holes. I blocked his number. The next morning, my mom texted again. She and Dad wanted to meet for coffee. Just the three of us. No Wayne. They had things they needed to discuss and amends to try to make. Part of me wanted to ghost them completely, run a complete system wipe on our relationship. But another part, maybe the part that still remembers when they were just mom and dad, before the Wayne favoritism algorithm took over, wanted answers. So I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop halfway between our places. Neutral territory. Tomorrow afternoon. I'm not planning on forgiveness. I'm not looking for a heartwarming reconciliation. What I want is acknowledgement, accountability, and maybe, if I'm feeling particularly generous, a chance for them to try to explain how they failed so completely as parents that they couldn't see what was happening right in front of them. Wayne texted me from a new number this afternoon. Just 4 words. You'll regret this, bro, asterisk. Honestly, the only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. My cousin called tonight with an update from Ground Zero. My parents have apparently told Wayne he has 30 days to find his own place. They've frozen his access to their credit cards. They're making him pay back some of the emergency money he took under false pretenses. His perfect little world is imploding, and he can't handle it. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here in my apartment with a strange feeling I can't quite identify. It's not happiness exactly. It's more like the sensation when you finally take off uncomfortable shoes you've been wearing all day. Relief mixed with lingering pain. Tomorrow's coffee shop meeting is going to be intense. I'm bringing receipts, literal and figurative. Years of texts, emails, bank statements showing my financial stability during times Wayne claimed I was desperate. Evidence that I've been gaslighted by my entire family for as long as I can remember. I don't know if I'm ready to hear what they have to say. I don't know if anything can fix what's broken. But for the first time, I'm not walking into a family situation feeling powerless. I'll update after the meeting. Right now, I need to prepare. Not just the evidence, but myself. Because no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm not going back to being the family scapegoat. That version of me has been permanently deleted. Update 2. The coffee shop was almost empty when I arrived, 15 minutes early. Just a barista wiping down counters and an elderly couple sharing a scone by the window. I picked a corner table with my back to the wall and clear sightlines to both exits. Old habits from years of family ambushes. Honestly, I hadn't slept much. My brain kept running scenario simulations all night, trying to predict how this meeting would go. By morning, I felt like I'd beta-tested a dozen different conversations and wasn't ready for any of them. My parents walked in exactly on time, looking like NPCs who'd aged 10 years overnight. Mom's eyes were puffy behind her glasses. Dad's shoulders slumped in a way I'd never seen before. They hesitated at the door, scanning the room until they spotted me. The way they approached, cautious, uncertain, was so different from their usual confident stride that I almost didn't recognize them. Look, I'd promised myself I wouldn't make this easy for them. 28 years of being Wayne's emotional support human, while they treated me like a background character in the family sitcom? That deserved more than an awkward apology over overpriced coffee. The first 10 minutes were excruciating. Small talk about the weather and traffic, while we all pretended this was just a normal catch-up. Mom kept adjusting her napkin. Dad cleared his throat approximately 400 times. I just waited, letting the uncomfortable silence do its work. Finally, Mom cracked. Her eyes filled with tears as she pulled out her tablet and turned it to face me. On the screen was a spreadsheet, a detailed accounting of every gift they'd given Wayne and me for the past 15 years. Every Christmas, every birthday, every just because present. Amounts in black and white, no emotion, just data. The disparity was even worse than I'd thought. Wayne had received over 4 times what I had. 4 times? Dad took over then, explaining in his halting way how they'd stayed up all night, going through photos, bank statements, and memories, trying to understand how they'd failed so completely, how they'd fallen for Wayne's manipulation, how they'd never once questioned the narrative he was feeding them. The reasons were both infuriatingly simple and depressingly complex. Wayne had always been the struggling child. Lower grades, fewer friends, more tantrums. They'd fallen into the trap of giving the squeaky wheel all the oil. Year after year, crisis after crisis, they'd reinforced this pattern until it became their operating system. Meanwhile, I was self-sufficient, quiet, the easy one. In their twisted logic, that meant I needed less support, less attention, less everything. Mom tried to explain how Wayne had systematically poisoned them against me over the years, how he'd intercept my accomplishments and minimize them, how he'd create fake crises and claim they were helping me through them, how he'd make sure they heard negative versions of every interaction. I just let them talk, watching their faces as they confronted their own failures. It wasn't as satisfying as I'd imagined. They looked broken, and that unexpected vulnerability threw off my carefully planned response. When they finally ran out of words, I pulled out my phone, opened my photos, started a slideshow of every Christmas and birthday from the past decade. Me opening socks while Wayne unwrapped gaming consoles. Me getting a coffee mug while Wayne got a laptop. Me forcing a smile while inside I wondered what I'd done wrong to deserve so little. Dad couldn't look at the photos. Mom couldn't look away. Then I showed them my bank statements, my credit score, my rental history, all the evidence that I'd been stable, responsible, and completely independent during times Wayne had told them I was begging him for money. The silence that followed was different than the awkward one that started our meeting. This was the silence of 2 people whose entire worldview was collapsing in real time. Dad finally asked what they could do to make things right. I told them nothing. There was no patch for this kind of system failure. 28 years of favoritism and emotional neglect doesn't get fixed with one conversation. I wasn't interested in their guilt or their sudden need for absolution. That's when the meeting took an unexpected turn. Instead of more tears or defensiveness, my parents nodded. They accepted my anger. They didn't try to rush me toward forgiveness. For perhaps the first time ever, they actually listened. Mom pulled out a second spreadsheet. This one showed Wayne's new reality. They'd calculated exactly how much money he'd taken under false pretenses over the years. The total made my student loans look like pocket change. They'd given him 30 days to find his own place, cut off his access to their accounts, and presented him with a repayment plan. Wayne, predictably, wasn't handling it well. He'd cycled through rage, begging, threats, and was now in the bargaining phase, claiming he'd get therapy, promising to change, swearing he'd make amends. When none of that worked, he'd tried a new tactic, claiming I was manipulating everyone against him. My phone buzzed with a notification as we sat there. A social media alert. Wayne had posted a long, rambling expose about me online, claiming I was the manipulative one, that I'd turned our parents against him out of jealousy, that I was the villain in this story. 5 years ago, that would have devastated me. Today, I just handed my phone to my parents and watched their faces as they read his desperate attempts to salvage his narrative. Dad's face went through a journey: disbelief, anger, resolution. Without a word, he took out his own phone and blocked Wayne on every platform. Mom followed suit a moment later. That's when they told me about their plan for next Christmas. They're selling the family home, the one Wayne still lives in rent-free, moving to a smaller place closer to where I live, starting fresh with new holiday traditions that don't revolve around materialistic gift-giving or old toxic patterns. I didn't commit to being part of those plans. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe I never will be. But for the first time, they respected my boundaries without pushing. As we were leaving, Dad awkwardly handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for the exact amount of my remaining student loan. He mumbled something about it being a start, not a fix. I haven't decided if I'll cash it. The ride home was surreal. My emotions were still loading, buffering between vindication and a weird sense of emptiness. I'd wanted acknowledgement for so long, but now that I had it, I didn't know what to do with it. Wayne called from another new number that night. I picked up, curious what new angle he would try. He was sobbing, his words slurring together, begging me to talk to our parents, telling me he'd lose everything if they followed through with their plan, that he couldn't afford his own place, that he had no savings, no safety net, that he needed me to fix this for him. The irony was almost too perfect. After years of claiming to rescue me from imaginary crises, he was now genuinely in one and expecting the same. I let him talk himself out. Then I told him something I'd been waiting 28 years to say. This sounds like a you problem. His reaction was everything I'd hoped for. Shock, outrage, disbelief that his safety net had finally given way. Before hanging up, I gave him one piece of advice: start looking for roommates on Craigslist. Then I blocked this number too. 2 weeks have passed since that coffee shop meeting. Wayne has been evicted from the family group chat. His social media campaign against me backfired spectacularly when relatives and family friends who've watched this dynamic play out for years publicly called him out. My parents have stuck to their plan. The house is on the market. Wayne has been given a firm move-out date. His attempts to sabotage the home showings only resulted in them changing the locks while he was out one day. They've invited me to dinner next week. No special occasion, just an attempt at a new beginning. I haven't decided if I'll go. Part of me wants to maintain the distance I've established. Another part is curious to see if they can actually change or if this is just an extended guilt trip. Meanwhile, Wayne has been reduced to couch surfing at friends' places, his facade crumbling as people realize he can't actually afford to contribute. His latest tactic is creating a crowdfunding campaign full of lies about being unexpectedly homeless. It's received exactly 0 donations. I'm not going to pretend this is some perfect, happy ending. Family damage this deep doesn't heal cleanly. But there's something satisfying about finally having the truth acknowledged, about watching the person who hurt me face consequences, about standing my ground instead of accepting the crumbs I've been conditioned to think I deserve. Will I ever fully reconcile with my parents? Maybe. Eventually. On my terms. Will I ever forgive Wayne? Not likely. Some malware you don't try to fix. You just quarantine it permanently. For now, I'm reconfiguring my own system. Setting boundaries, processing unexpected feelings, building a life where my value isn't determined by comparison to anyone else, and planning how I'll spend next Christmas with people who actually want me there, not just the role I play in their dysfunction. Thanks for coming along on this journey, Reddit. Your support helped me stay logged in when I wanted to shut down.